The arrival of Christianity to Ireland in the 5th century led to sacred monastic sites being established across the country. These symbols of sacred Ireland still echo with the stories of the early monks or saints that established them. Their stories are written in the memories of those who live in the shadows of these great sites. The Christianity practiced at this time in Ireland had its own distinct flavour. It was its own brand of Celtic Christianity, where the old traditions and beliefs were not forgotten. Water was important for religious worship, and many wells which had once been used for pagan ceremonies were rededicated to Christian saints. At Clonina, these traditions can still be seen with offerings attached to St. Fintan's holy tree.
The spring well, the Holy Well, which is dedicated to St. Fintan at Clonina, was originally on the left-hand side of the road. And in the 19th century, thousands of people used to visit the well at all times of the year. Now, the person who owned the land at that time had different beliefs and was fed up with all these people coming on his land. So he decided to fill in the well, to cover it over. And then, amazingly and miraculously, they say, because of the intervention of St. Fintan, the well sprang up on the other side of the road, gushed up from the trunk of a sycamore tree. 10 foot in the air the water was said to have gushed. And people would climb up the tree and tie rags and coloured ribbons onto the tree. And then they began to hammer coins into the bark of the tree as a kind of a votive offering for their intentions, perhaps. Now, naturally, the poor tree eventually was poisoned from the metal and it fell down. But because the spring well was there and the water was there, new shoots are now growing and the tree is still there. St. Fintan, it was said, lived by a very strict rule and had an austere life. He survived on bread made of corn barley and earthy water. And one day he was walking across the fields carrying a bucket of water when he slipped, and the water spilled on the ground, and there, on the spot where the water spilled, a new well sprang up. And that well is now known as Cramogue. And still today, many people go there for devotional purpose on the Saint's Day, which is the 17th of February. And they drink the fresh, beautiful water from the well. And there's a lot of superstitions attached to this particular well. If you take a pebble from the well and bring it home, your house will never go on fire. And there was an RAF pilot who lived close by, and he fought in the war, but he never went without a bag of pebbles from the well in the cockpit of his plane, and he was never shot down. There's also supposed to be a one-eyed trout in that well, and if you catch sight of that trout, you will have great good fortune.
At Timahoe, a monastery was founded by St. Macua, an old warrior who had taken religious vows. Stories of St. Macua are still kept alive in the area today. One tale tells of Macua's devotion to the gospel and to 3 animals that kept the old hermit company.
St. Macua had 3 beloved pets, a rooster, a fly and a mouse. And the rooster would awake him in the morning to read his matins, and the fly would hop from word to word along the page. And if he fell asleep at any stage during his readings, the mouse would nibble at his ear to wake him up. On the passing of his beloved pets, St. Macua wrote a letter to St. Columkill in Iona. He was distraught, and St. Columkill wrote back a letter saying, "Marvel not, my friend, for misfortune always awaits the well."
The Little Pets of St. Macua by John Irvine. When St. Macua knelt to pray each morning at the break of day, there always was about the house a rooster, fly, and little mouse.
3 willing slaves to serve him well and share his solitary cell. The rooster every morn would crow and waken him from matins.
Though when he slept too sound to hear, the mouse came forth and nipped his ear. And though he never had a clock, the mouse would call him o'er the cock.
And if he had to leave a book from out some dusty hidden nook,
A fly with patience and with grace would sit for hours and mark the place.
Timahoe has one of Ireland's finest examples of a round tower. Soaring to the sky, these uniquely Irish structures were built as bell houses and were an obvious display of the monastery's wealth and importance.
It stands at 96 foot high, and it's considered generally to be one of the best preserved round towers in Ireland.
The doorway of Timahoe's round tower is decorated in the Romanesque style, a new form of European architecture that came to Ireland during the 12th century. One of the most striking examples of this elaborate architecture can be seen in the beautifully decorated doorway of Kileshin Church. This church was an ostentatious display of wealth by its patron, Dermot MacMurrough, the King of Leinster. A prayer in his honour is inscribed into the doorway of the church. Dermot MacMurrough is remembered as the man who invited the Normans to Ireland. They brought many changes to the Irish church and established monasteries of the new continental orders like the Augustinians, Cistercians, and Dominicans. An important Dominican abbey was established at Aherbow on the site of an old Irish monastery. One of the abbots of Aherbow was St. Fergal, who was also known as Virgilius. He was renowned for his scholarship and knowledge of geography, and was appointed Bishop of Salzburg, where he is still venerated in the cathedral to this day. The link between Aherbow and Salzburg is still strong. Many pilgrims from Salzburg still travel to Aherbow, where the story of St. Fergal began. The saints of Laois have left a lasting impact across Europe, and many of their ancient monasteries still survive today, leaving us with evocative and atmospheric places to encounter the stories of these saints and scholars. Their stories continue to inspire the communities who live in the shadows of these once great monasteries, like Kileshin, Aherbow, and Timahoe.